Hello and welcome to Avenging Past 7. I'm here today with Logan Courageous, and we're going to do a movie review of Die Hard. And so, Die Hard is a movie I've loved to watch every year, right around the Christmas time. I enjoy it as a Christmas movie and like to use it to kind of bring myself into the Christmas feeling of things. Die Hard, really simple movie and has been used as a mock up for a ton of different movies and settings. So Bruce Willis as John McClane flies into California to visit his wife and his children for Christmas. You learn early on that he and his wife have a strange relationship. He goes to her place of work that's having a Christmas party, and shortly thereafter, there are terrorists that come in, take over the place, and you learn their plan and how they want to take out a bunch of valuables from the business. And then John McClane slowly takes out all of them and ruins their plan and brings the police and the FBI in to finally stop them, and culminating in the knocking Hans Gruber out of the Nakatomi Plaza and to his death. Of the movie or things that you thought were really cool that you gleaned from this, because I know this was your first time watching it.
Yeah, I can say it was my first time watching it all the way through. I did not realize that I had at least seen part of it. You know how like anytime as a kid there'll be like movies just playing on a random channel on TV. I think
Yeah,
this was
yeah.
one of those movies that it maybe happened once or twice because I the scene where they're on the level of the building where it's like under construction
Hmm.
where he pulls the fire alarm, that was something that I recognized.
Oh, cool.
Like
Yeah.
I figured I was like I've seen this before, but any other part I was like, yeah, no, I haven't.
Yeah,
But
there's always those recognizable parts of movies that you know, even if you didn't know. Almost like music. A lot
mhm.
of times people come to me and ask, like, hey, do you know this song? And my standard answer is, I probably do, but I don't know right off the top of my head.
Yeah. But my a lot of the parts that I liked were any parts that included Argyle. I think they were
Yes.
hilarious.
Yep. Argyle was great.
Especially he's the unsung hero of the movie. He
Yeah.
really is. And so I think that's done really well. The humor is done well throughout the movie. I think it you could tell it's dated. I think the movie kind of does feel dated a little bit, just
Sure.
with some of the things in it, but that doesn't take away from it being good.
Yeah.
Obviously,
One of the things when I was looking up different behind the scenes info about the movie, John McTiernan is the director, and he rejected directing this movie, I think, 3 or 4 times before finally accepting it. And the reason he was rejecting it was he thought it was too dark of a movie, and he didn't like how much the terrorists were terrorists and how far
yeah,
that they went. And so when he finally accepted it and began working on the movie, one of the big things he did was tone down the uh, dark parts of the movie and made it more lighthearted, made it more of a fun action movie.
yeah, yeah. Because there still are some parts that peek through that are pretty brutal.
Yeah, yeah, like
So,
almost even just like the first action scene when he fights the guy and then like they tumble down the stairs
mhm,
and then like he's in his arms and he's just dead. Or towards
yeah,
later on in the movie when he kills the guy by hanging him on the was it the chain link? I was
yeah.
like, yeah, some of those like were really dark. Let's see. I would say, oh man, it's hard to think of a favorite part of the movie. So many times throughout, watching it this morning, it was just like I just found myself just smiling and just enjoying like a classic and just older action movie. It
Mhm.
wasn't. I mean, it has a good storyline throughout, but they had it evenly paced between just a great action scene and story. And they went back and forth with that. I guess one of the parts I always kind of think back to is when he hides under the table. The terrorist jumps on the table, shooting at him, and finally says, "Next time, don't. When you have a chance to kill someone, just take it and don't hesitate." And so he does it, and he just kills him. He's like,
Yeah.
"Thanks for the advice." It's like that was like so many classic scenes that get replayed
Hmm.
and get callbacks and Easter eggs in so many other movies are found in this. I don't even know if I have a least favorite part. Was there anything that you would say was like your least favorite, or was you saw something wrong with it?
I was gonna say the same exact thing that you just said. Like I couldn't pick out something that I could say is my least favorite part. Like I think the movie has a good pace and nothing. There's no downtime. I feel like it all
Yeah,
feels good all throughout.
yeah. So here are some cool behind the scenes info that I looked up earlier today. Nakatomi Plaza is a real building, and it is the. I'm not sure if it still is, but at least at the time, it was the headquarters for Fox, who produced the movie, and so they rented it from themselves. And so all of the outside scenes and all of the inside scenes are filmed at their own headquarters. And
Hmm.
so when filming the action scenes, they had complaints from people working on other floors that it was too loud, and so they had to start filming the action and gunfight scenes during off hours so that they weren't
Hmm.
disturbing people. I won't say actually working because they were actually working, but doing other parts of the work for the business. Let's see. Here's something that I thought I never caught on to, no matter how many times I had seen it. But when Ellis is meeting with Hans Gruber, you can Carl pours a can of Coke out into a cup and gives it to Ellis. And this it wasn't like this is because, but it said this is most likely because Ellis, who had been using cocaine throughout the movie, had
Hmm.
asked if they had any Coke
Yeah.
and kind of wanted Coke as his prize for giving up John McClane. And so they gave him Coke from a can. And so, because and not understanding what he was meaning, I had never picked up on that. But when I read that, I was like, "That's actually kind of cool." Like, okay, like that. It turns it into a kind of a funny joke, but also like
Yeah.
translation. Error in translation, but also like if you are watching for all of these small little things that they follow up on, that is something that you can pick up on. Which reminds me, there's nothing that happens in this movie that was not set up beforehand. Every single thing that happens is set up from the very beginning, where the guy in the airplane suggests to take off your socks and shoes when you get to where you're going, curl them up into fists on carpet. It'll help
Hmm.
you get over any flight delay or any nervousness from being on the flight, which starts off the whole thing of why he has no shoes for the rest of the movie. Why whenever he has to walk on the glass. Um, the Just a few minutes later, he's able to escape from the office because the terrorist that was going to check in the room he was in, gets distracted by the couple getting pulled out of another room. Which we knew that they were a couple getting together because a few minutes before they had busted into the office that he was in. So it's like every single thing throughout the whole movie, it has a setup and a payoff, even if it's just minutes apart or hours apart.
Yeah.
So for the shot where Hans Gruber falls from the top of the building, Alan Rickman really was dropped 40 feet onto an airbag with a blue screen cover, which they later, used effects for. And a stuntman held Alan Rickman up with a rope. And mirroring Rickman's line repeated twice in this movie, the stuntman crew was to count to three before releasing him. But to get a genuine reaction from Alan Rickman, the stuntman released the rope on the count of two and not three. So his reaction was real for the actual fall because he did not expect to be falling. And during a Q&A, Alan Rickman said that the stunt was purposely done on his last day of filming on set.
Mm.
And I remember um, either watching or reading a Q&A with him after, I guess this would have been after the six, yeah, sixth Harry Potter movie, he said that whenever he kills Dumbledore, and so Dumbledore falls off of the tower, he felt really reminiscent and thinking back to when he was Hans Gruber and falling off the tower, since it's a similar scene with them falling off the tower. And finally, director John McTiernan found it necessary to have to cut away from Hans Gruber's face whenever he fires a gun, because Alan Rickman had an uncontrollable habit of flinching from the noise and muzzle flash whenever he was shooting a gun. And this can be noticed if you look at Alan Rickman's face when he shoots Takagi. You see him wince whenever he fires the gun. And I just thought that's funny, actors, having to do stuff and then them having to edit the movie around different things that are going on during that scene.
Yeah.
So, one of my final questions to you would be, is this a Christmas movie?
It doesn't have the Christmas feel because it's in California.
Sure.
That's I think that's the thing that could
Okay.
really change it. If it was set in New York
And then you had the
and
snow.
you had snow,
Okay.
you'd have more of that feel. But it's you could still consider it a Christmas movie just because it's around that time frame. But you'll because any Christmas movie you see, I think it's
You're going to have snow.
purposefully put in a
Yeah.
northern colder climate like that.
Yeah. And I mean, I see. I live down in the south, and I think I've seen snow on Christmas once, and it was gone by noon. So, in my own life, I don't consider snow a part of Christmas, but
Yeah.
I would have to agree, if I'm watching a Christmas movie, I'm going to see snow,
Hmm.
but I still consider this a Christmas movie. It's
Yeah.
not
I'll
Chris it's
consider it in there.
it's not Christmas unless I've seen Hans Gruber fall from Nakatomi Plaza. So, any final thoughts on this movie?
um, I mean, I really enjoyed it, which I will say I'm very easily entertained by movies. So my critique of it isn't the greatest, I could say, but I think a lot of the things in it really, like you were talking about, there's a lot of payoff. You
Yeah.
know, like uh, Al, the cop at the end
Yes.
when he kills the guy, that's like
Yep.
huge payoff. Obviously, that's another one of my favorite parts of the movie. I was thinking of one as you were talking, and I can't remember it now for some
Mhm.
reason. But yeah, that's definitely a favorite part of mine. But
Sure. Um I'll go off on a small tangent, maybe it'll come back to you. But watching this movie again today, it's so funny because I saw Paul Blart, I guess back around when it came out. And so whenever it's so backwards for me, because I saw Paul Blart first, but Paul Blart is
that's
such a
me
big
too.
copy of this movie. I
Yes.
mean, everything about Paul Blart is just mimicking this movie. And my brother and I, we love to watch Paul Blart. It's such a I'm it's been a while since I've seen it, but it's such a crappy movie, but it's so fun to watch. I love it, and
Yeah.
I like it even more now, knowing its inspiration from was it Agent Johnson and Agent Johnson having the same two agents with the same last name and Paul Blart
Hmm.
crawling through the air vents and sticking something up to see if he was in there. So many, writing his names, writing the different names on his arm. I thought,
Yeah.
awesome idea for the movie for Die Hard, and then Paul Blart just goes off with the same thing, and I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that's something I noticed halfway through. I'm like this is Paul Blart. Like this is what
Yes,
it is after.
I
And it
remember the first time I watched Die Hard. I'm like, wait, this feels like Paul Blart. Wait,
mhm.
that was in Paul Blart. Wait, that was like every time something happened that Paul Blart had took from Die Hard, I was like, I was like, they're just taking it from Paul Blart, which of
Uh-huh.
course this came out so long before. But yes,
Yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to mention because I just it was so funny how I was continuously as the movie went on, I put the pieces together that that's what I was thinking of.
yeah,
Like, man, That's this is actually Paul Blart Mall Cop. This is the exact thing.
Yeah. Yes, that was hilarious noticing that on the first time and then thinking about it again today. Um, I'm trying to think if there was anything else that really stuck out to me. It's such a normal movie for me to watch. Things don't really stick out to myself anymore. But I think that's just I think Die Hard shows how good of a movie or how much I like it because I don't rewatch movies that often. I
Yeah.
don't like to, if I've seen it, I've seen it, I enjoyed it, I liked it, but I don't want to rewatch. I want to wait a long time before I rewatch it again. But Paul Blart but Die Hard, I'll watch it every year. Star Wars, I'll rewatch it every year. Lord of the Rings, it's coming up for me to rewatch that again. Lord of the Rings, I try and watch once a year. Um, but yeah, like that just shows like how much at least for myself, I like the movie, how good of a movie it is. I'll rewatch it over and over.
Yeah. Something I was gonna say was I've never seen the Harry Potter movies. I've seen one. I saw one in theaters. Uh but even though I've never seen those, I only see Alan Rickman as Snape. That is like
Yes. Ooh,
I
that reminds
so
me of a couple
so when he
things. Yeah,
shows up, I didn't even know he was in the movie, but when he shows up, I'm like, man, yeah,
it's
like
Snape.
that's all I'm gonna be able to picture the entire movie.
Yes. So I'll tie it to Die Hard first, and then I'll go off on a Alan Rickman Harry Potter tangent. But Alan, the scene towards later half of the movie, when Hans Gruber and John McClane first meet, that scene was not in the movie originally, and about halfway through filming, just between interactions between the different cast and the director, they found out that Alan Rickman could do a decent, pretty good American accent. And
Hmm.
because of that, the director John McTiernan realized that they could do a scene where Hans Gruber and McClane meet and not realize that he's was the big bad guy right away. And so that's how they put that scene together for him to use the fake accent, get away with it for a little bit, and then McClane realized that he's just taking names off of the board behind him.
Yeah.
Um, which, for one, great scene, but that's how that was set up, was just because of interactions behind the scenes and realizing that they could get away and could make that work. It wasn't originally in the script. But for Alan Rickman as Snape, yes, he was always the perfect Snape, and we're so lucky he was able to do all 8 movies. But J.K. Rowling saw him as Snape completely and always believed in him to be Snape, so much so that she told him Snape's entire story from beginning to end early on in filming. And
Mm.
it was J.K. Rowling and Alan Rickman were, I think, the only 2 people that knew that Snape was in love with Lily, that, like, knew his entire story from the beginning. Even the script writer, Steve Clovis, he wrote the scripts for all 8 movies and worked closely with J.K. Rowling while writing them to make sure that they got it right. That even when taking stuff out or adding new stuff in, it still kept true to her vision of the characters and the story. She would tell him, "You have to have this scene, or you have to have this item, or this description in the movie, and it has to be in there." And he would ask why, and she would say, "You just have to trust me." So she wouldn't even tell him where the movies were going in the future outside
Hmm.
of what he needed to know. And even then, she wouldn't even tell him if it was something that she kept close to hand. But Alan Rickman knew. I'm not sure exactly when she told him, but she told him really early on. She had a special meeting with him and like shared those secrets. Um, but yeah, like he was Snape so much so that she gave him all that information so he could use that in filming and how to inspire him to act in those scenes that nobody else knew why he would act that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is such a great actor. Let's see. I think that's all I really have. I love the movie. It's one of my favorite Christmas movies that I like to consider a Christmas movie,
Well,
and
hold
I
on,
love.
hold on. Where does it rank in your Christmas movies?
Oh, let's
Give me a
see.
top five Christmas movies,
Okay,
or
top
top
five.
three if you can't give
All
five.
right, top three. I would definitely include Elf. I would include Elf, A Christmas Story. Um, let's see, National Lampoon's Christmas, Die Hard, and do I have a fifth? Don't know if I would have a fifth, but in those four, thinking about Spirit of Christmas and what want to watch for Christmas. Those four, see, those four I'm going to watch every year for Christmas time.
Yeah.
And man, it is so hard to say because each one of them has so good in such a different way. Man, that is tough. I guess even amongst those four, I might list it at the bottom of those four. I would put the other three above it.
Yeah.
Even if not sure exactly how, I would put that at the bottom of those four.
Yeah, I've always for ever since the first time I saw it, Home Alone will always be number one for me.
Yes,
Like
Home Alone is a good one.
it's too classic and just the ending is so great. Like it's iconic.
It
That'll
is an
always be
iconic Christmas. I would say that is one that I would go without watching if I don't watch as many Christmas movies. That is one I would put to the side. Um, Elf is just I feel like Will Ferrell's best movie. I don't know if
You instantly rethought it as
yeah.
you
Well,
said
then I thought
it.
of Talladega Nights.
Yeah.
Talladega. Okay.
He's got
Yeah.
quite a few that are
Yeah. He's such a funny actor. See, that's gonna get me on a whole other time. All right. Well, we will end it there. I want to say thank you all for joining us today. We will continue doing different movie reviews. I'll be bringing in some other people as well. Let us know what your thoughts, your favorite moments, any interesting behind the scenes you might have heard of on Die Hard, and what movie you would want to see us do next. Don't forget, go and check out Logan Courageous's channel if you haven't already. I believe, is that just Logan Courageous on YouTube?
it should be, but don't check mine out. Just subscribe to this one and we're good.
Well, we both also do the Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. We're both doing similar things, but we're also both at completely different points in the game. And we also, change up how we play it as well. So check Logan Courageous' channel out. Follow along here if you don't already. Hit the subscribe button, like the video, hit the notification bell, and you'll see our next video. We both post daily, and we are pretty active on YouTube and Discord. So thank you all for joining, and we will see you next time.